She was already on my porch when I pulled into the driveway, her arms flailing like she'd caught a thief. "Officers, arrest him!" she screamed, pointing straight at me as if I didn't belong there. I froze for a second, staring at the flashing red and blue lights bouncing off the trees. Two cops stepped forward and one of them muttered, "Ma'am, who exactly are we arresting?" I was standing on my own land, my own cabin, behind her, but she was acting like she owned it. My gut tightened as I noticed people peeking through the curtains inside. Strangers, drinking, laughing. That was my cabin, my grandfather's cabin, the one I'd locked before leaving town. "Sir, do you live here?" the younger officer asked, his hand hovering near his holster. Before I could answer, Karen cut in, "No, he doesn't. He's trespassing. This property falls under HOA rules, and he's been banned. I have authority here." Her voice cracked with false confidence, but the officers didn't look convinced. I reached into my jacket slowly, careful under their watchful eyes, and pulled out a thick folder. "This is my deed," I said calmly, my voice steady even though my blood was boiling. "And I never gave anyone permission to be inside." Karen laughed like it was some kind of joke. "Deeds can be faked. I'm telling you, officer, he's lying. Those guests paid me good money to use this cabin. He's just trying to ruin it." My stomach dropped. Paid her money? So this wasn't just her usual HOA harassment. She had been running a rental scam with my family's cabin while I was gone. The officers looked at each other, uneasy, as Karen stepped closer to me, lowering her voice just enough for only me to hear. "You should have stayed away. Now you're going to regret coming back early." One of the cops held up his hand, trying to calm things down, but I could see they weren't sure who to believe. Karen kept barking over me, spitting out words like trespasser, violation, and banishment, as if she had the power of a judge. My jaw clenched. I knew if I raised my voice, I'd look like the problem. So I swallowed the fire and stepped toward the porch. "Then maybe you'd like to explain why my front door is unlocked." I reached past her and pushed the door open. The smell hit first. Cheap beer, smoke, and food that didn't belong to me. 4 people sat around my grandfather's old table, holding drinks like it was their living room. One of them actually had the nerve to wave and laugh. "We paid for this," he said. Karen stormed inside, pretending to take control. "Don't listen to him. These are honored guests of the HOA. They're under my protection." The older cop's brow furrowed. "Guests? Protection? Ma'am, this doesn't sound right." I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen, showing him the security app. The feed came up clear. Footage of Karen. Karen's eyes darted between the cops and me, her voice rising into a shriek. "You don't understand. This whole community is under HOA authority, and I am in charge." But the younger officer cut her off, firm this time. "Ma'am, authority doesn't override property ownership. If this deed checks out, you're the one trespassing." I could almost taste her panic. She tried another tactic, pointing at the people inside my cabin. "They paid me. I can prove it. Look, I have transactions." She fumbled through her purse, pulling out crumpled cash and scribbled notes, but the sight only made it worse. The guests stood up one by one, realizing they'd been conned. "Wait," one woman snapped. "You told us this was your family's lodge. You charged us $2,000 for the week." The older officer's expression hardened. He turned to me. "Sir, we'll need to confirm the deed, but from what I see, this is your property." Karen froze like she'd been slapped. She lunged toward me, her voice dropped low again. "You think this is over? I can ruin you in ways you can't even imagine." That's when the cop stepped between us. "Enough. Ma'am, step outside." But I wasn't done yet. My chest tightened as I pulled out one more thing from my jacket pocket, a laminated badge. "And before you question the cameras or the deed, maybe you should know I work for the county recorder's office. Every property transfer, every boundary line, every legal dispute, it runs across my desk." The guests gasped. The older cop let out a slow whistle. Karen's face twisted in disbelief, and for the first time, she was silent. Karen's silence didn't last long. She snapped out of it and went right back to screaming like sheer volume could erase the truth. "He's lying! He forged that badge! He's dangerous! You're all being fooled!"
Her hands shook as she waved her papers in the air, but the cops weren't buying it anymore. The older one took my deed and scanned it carefully, then glanced at my ID. His eyes narrowed, then softened. "It checks out. This land is yours." The guests erupted all at once, angry voices filling the cabin. "You scammed us," one man shouted, his face red. "I want my money back." Another pulled out her phone, snapping pictures of Karen and yelling, "I'm posting this everywhere." Karen tried to cover her face, but the damage was already spreading faster than she could stop. She spun on me like a cornered animal. "You don't know who you're messing with. I am this neighborhood. I can have your utilities shut off, your road blocked, your mail returned." But she stopped cold when the older cop raised his hand. "Ma'am, enough threats. You're already in deep trouble." He pulled out his radio. "Dispatch, we may need backup for fraud and trespassing." Karen's mouth dropped open. She stepped back like she'd been slapped, but then she smirked again, clinging to the last shred of power. "You think you've won? The HOA board is behind me. They'll bury you in lawsuits before you even unpack your bags." I leaned closer, just enough so only she and the cops could hear me. "Then maybe they'll want to see the rest of the files I've collected. Every illegal rental, every forged document, every scam you've run in this county." Her eyes widened, and for the first time, I saw it. The crack in her armor.
The guests had started filming everything now, their phones aimed at Karen like spotlights, exposing a thief. One man shouted, "This woman stole thousands from us!" Another added, "We're calling our lawyers!" The room buzzed with anger, and Karen's perfect HOA image was shattering right in front of her. The younger cop took my phone when I handed it over and scrolled through the footage. Karen's face appeared on the screen again and again, unlocking my cabin, laughing with strangers, taking envelopes of cash. "Looks like an open and shut case," he muttered. Karen lunged forward trying to snatch it, but the older cop caught her wrist midair. "That's enough," he snapped. "You're done." Her mask cracked completely then. "You don't get it," she screamed, her voice shrill, echoing off the cabin walls. "People listen to me. I run this neighborhood. Without me, this place falls apart." But the guests laughed bitterly, one of them calling out, "Lady, you can't even run your own lies straight." The officers escorted her out onto the porch as she kicked and shouted, her threats now sounding more desperate than powerful. "This isn't over. I'll sue him. I'll sue all of you." But the flashing lights outside weren't just from one squad car anymore. 2 more cruisers had pulled up, and neighbors were gathering on the street, watching their self-proclaimed queen of the HOA dragged down the steps. I stood at the doorway, my heart pounding but steady. For years, she had terrorized this neighborhood, and now, in front of everyone, her kingdom was collapsing. I looked straight at her as she was shoved into the back of the squad car and said one line I'd been holding in for a long time. "I don't fight wars on foreign soil just to lose my home to someone like you." Karen froze, her eyes wide, realizing for the first time she had picked